Every now and then a legal drama unfolds that could literally change an entire industry. Well, that's what we've got here. A massive, nationwide lawsuit, we're talking billions of dollars, just hit a total brick wall. And get this, the wall was the judge herself. So okay, let's dive right into this and figure out what in the world is going on.
And this is the quote that stopped everything in its tracks. Just a single, super blunt sentence from Judge LaShonda Hunt. And boom, a years-long, high-stakes lawsuit is basically put on ice. I mean, you just don't hear this kind of candor from a judge every day. It totally reveals this huge fundamental flaw in the case, and it really sets the stage for all the drama that came next.
Right, so that's the big question we're going to unpack. How does a case this massive, millions of potential plaintiffs, billions of dollars on the line, just suddenly grind to a halt? Well, the answer is kind of complicated. It's all tangled up with another landmark lawsuit. And honestly, it's a fascinating look at how these epic legal battles are actually won and lost.
Okay, so first things first, we got to get a handle on the case at the center of this whole firestorm. It's a really big deal, with some of the biggest names in real estate feeling the heat.
The case is called Batten 1, and what it is a nationwide class action lawsuit. It was filed on behalf of literally millions of people who bought homes all across the country because they feel like the system was rigged against them.
So here's the core allegation, and it's a bombshell. The claim is that the National Association of Realtors and huge brokerages like Anywhere, Keller Williams, and RE/MAX were all in on this decades-long, nationwide antitrust conspiracy. A mouthful, I know, but the point is they're accused of working together to artificially inflate the commissions paid to buyer brokers. And the bottom line, the lawsuit claims homebuyers were forced to pay billions in overcharges because of these rules.
All right, now this is where things get messy. This is really the heart of the conflict and where you can start to see why the judge was getting so frustrated. See, the Batten 1 lawsuit, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Its fate is tied directly to another, even more famous case.
So let's break it down. Over on the left, you've got the famous Sitzer/Burnett lawsuit. That one was filed by home sellers. It's a landmark case, led to massive settlements, and it's totally shaking up the industry. But our case, Batten 1 on the right, that was filed by home buyers. So, what's the problem? The problem is that a whole lot of the buyers in the Batten case were also sellers who were part of those Sitzer/Burnett settlements. This overlap, this is the whole mess right here.
So the key legal idea here is something called released claims. When all those companies settled in the seller lawsuit, a big part of the deal was that those sellers gave up their right to sue again over similar stuff. The judge in that case even specifically said that this release covered their role as buyers too. You see where this is going? You can't get paid twice for the same alleged problem.
And just to show you how big of a problem this is, here's the number. The defense lawyers argued that a staggering 79%, nearly 4 out of 5 of the homebuyers in the Batten 1 class might not even be eligible to sue. Why? Because they were also sellers covered by those other settlements. Yeah, now you can really feel the judge's frustration, right?
And here is Judge Hunt again, dispelling it out. You can almost hear the exasperation. She's looking at this mountain of paperwork, all this time, all this money that's been spent on a class action that, as it stands, is just fundamentally broken. It's full of people who might have already signed away their right to even be in the courtroom.
So, as you can imagine, this frustration just boiled over in the courtroom. It led to this really tense back and forth between the lawyers. You can just feel the pressure in their arguments as they're trying to sway the judge.
So the plaintiff's lawyers, they tried a more practical approach. They basically said, look, Judge, let's just move forward for now. If a higher court ends up overturning that whole release claims thing, it'll be way easier to just add people back in later on. They were basically trying to kick the can down the road and just hope for the best.
Oh, but the defense was having none of it. The lawyer for Anywhere, Stacey Mahoney, she came back hard. Her argument was simple. They paid a ton of money in that Sitzer/Burnett settlement for one reason, to be done with these claims, to get some legal peace. Her exact words were, "We have paid for that release. We are entitled to that relief." It's a powerful point.
And then the lawyer for NAR came in with probably the harshest line of the day. He told the judge that the plaintiff's attorneys knew this was an issue all along, and they decided to go ahead anyway. His take was incredibly blunt. They made their bed, they should lie with it. Basically saying if their case fails because of this strategic choice, well, too bad. So, after all that drama, where does this leave this billion-dollar lawsuit? Well, Judge Hunt basically laid out two options for the plaintiffs. She put a fork in the road, and the path they choose is going to decide the immediate future of this entire case. So, what were the choices?
Here are the two paths she gave them. Option 1, go back to the drawing board. They can amend their motion right now, which means they'd have to shrink the class, kicking out all those buyers who are also sellers. This might save the lawsuit, but it's going to be a much, much smaller case. Option 2, just hit the pause button. They can ask to stay the case. That just means freeze everything and wait. Wait to see how the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals rules on the Sitzer/Burnett settlements. But that could take a really long time.
And they don't have forever to think about it. The hearing was on November 4th. The judge gave them a hard deadline of November 14th to come back and tell her their plan. And all the while, that massive 8th Circuit appeal is just hanging out there, with absolutely no clear timeline on when we'll get a decision.
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to this one critical question. Do the plaintiffs take their lumps now and move forward with what could be a much weaker, smaller case? Or do they roll the dice, put their entire lawsuit on ice indefinitely, and gamble on getting a favorable ruling from a higher court? It's a huge, high-stakes choice, and it could totally change the course of this massive legal fight. We are all going to be watching very closely to see what they decide.